let's get stuck into the NBA, and we have a champion.
We have a champion. The series was a Desmond 2-2 last weekend, leading into Game 5 and Game 6. And this was a bit of an Esky curse. I think, we kind of, me, you and Steam all went the Celtics.
Yep.
And Sean didn't remember who he'd picked.
I wanted a Game 7.
I really wanted a Game 7 as well. But
everything to play for, but 6 games, you can't complain.
Exactly.
A final series.
And it was a back and forward series, obviously. The Warriors getting Game 5 and Game 6, but before then it had alternated. And it was hard to pick because we saw those 2 away wins in the first lots of matches. And Steph Curry not having to carry this team. Jordan Poole put his hand up. Andrew Wiggins put his hand up. Clay, whilst he definitely wasn't his best, played his role. Draymond wasn't scoring, but he played D.
His role,
He talked that shit, and they won that ring. So that one worked out well for Draymond.
And it's good when you've got 3 to 4 other really good teammates as well. So.
Yeah. The whole start of the series, we're talking about how well-rounded, the Celtics were, how they didn't need that superstar. They could all just bounce off each other, and how, this Golden State were heavily reliant on Curry, and then,
team effort,
That's it.
Team effort. In Game 5, it was Andrew Wiggins was the bloke that put the team on his back. He had 26 points, 13 rebounds in that one. And Steph, I think, went 0 for 9 from three-point land in that one.
Yep.
So it's a testament to that Golden State team for when your finals MVP, your best player has an off night and you still go out and win by 10. That's what a championship team needs to be made of. And as we alluded to last week or the week before, it's probably why we haven't seen, a Denver Nuggets that relies so much on Jokic, or the Miami Heat that relies so much on Jimmy Butler. Teams like that,
just take that next step.
Yeah, although maybe Giannis says hello from last year. Although Giannis with Middleton in very different story. So Middleton been hurt for a lot of the playoffs, probably hurt the Bucks' chances. Now, I think the conversation probably has to go now around Steph winning his first finals MVP. A lot of people had that as a little caveat and as to why Steph, shouldn't be considered as one of the game's all-time greats. No one's going to sit at this table and say that Steph Curry is the greatest basketball player of all time.
No.
But he has to be in the conversation now, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, the first point I want to Rick in the chat, you got to say that Curry over KD.
I think the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, I think what was the quote? We shoot threes and win titles. Like I think it's very, very clear that they've got that capability. And yes, but now with the record's starting to stack up for Curry. It'll be interesting to see how much longer he's gonna do it. You think he's still got a couple of years left in him?
Definitely, man.
Yeah, because I think he's 34.
Yeah, chase that up. He's not that old.
He's
a lot younger than LeBron.
That also true. He's a lot younger than LeBron, and he could maybe add 1 or 2 more. But yeah, into that conversation, and you look at that list, he's now on that list for the 4+ titles and multiple MVPs.
Yep.
You got the list there, Peppy. You want to run through it?
Yeah, so this is something that we looked at. So the criteria was you need to have won 4 titles and have multiple league MVPs. It's a pretty short list. So Bill Russell, it's funny that no one ever talks about Bill Russell being the GOAT, although I imagine it, because it's hard here because a lot of our parents and grandparents didn't watch basketball growing up, whereas you talk to young people and most people know what's going on in the NBA. So I reckon over in the States, you'd be talking to some old timers and they'd say, Michael Jordan ain't shit, Bill Russell. Bill Russell is the GOAT, man.
It's generational.
Generational, but he had 11 titles, 5 MVPs, which is double anyone else on this list. Obviously, the Celtics had that long run of domination. There wasn't any salary cap in those days. It's akin to the mighty St. George Dragons of the 50s and 60s, where you could pretty much just buy the best team. But hard to maybe compare, that long ago back to Bill Russell. But then everyone else on this list is reasonably similar numbers. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 6 titles, 6 MVPs. Michael Jordan, most people's GOAT, 6 titles, 5 MVPs. Did have the 2 years off, so, could that be 8 and 7 if he didn't have those years playing baseball? Magic Johnson. You talk to some people, especially Lakers fans, that will make an argument for Magic Johnson being the greatest player of all time. 6'9" point guard is pretty scary, unless his name's Ben Simmons, I guess. Sorry, couldn't resist. Shout out, Ben. Get better. Australia needs you. Tim Duncan, 5 and 2, and then we've got the current guys in the GOAT conversation. LeBron 4 and 4, and Curry 4 and 2. No, did Kobe win multiple MVPs?
That's the difference. He's got one. He had 2 finals MVPs, but 5 titles.
Yeah. So didn't make the criteria, but and the other. Well, obviously Kobe is in the conversation, and it is probably on people's top 5, if not top 3 list. And then maybe Wilt the Stilt needs to be in the conversation. Obviously, didn't have the success in terms of the titles, but pretty much all the records in terms of point scoring, rebounds, et cetera, belong to Wilt the Stilt. He just didn't have the longevity, I suppose, of a Kareem or a Bill Russell or a LeBron.
I think a key point here that Rickens actually made in the chat there was that Curry and LeBron do overlap in eras. So, his point here was Curry single-handedly stopped LeBron from being the GOAT because he's taken all the potential champions and extra MVPs away from him. Yep. So they do overlap, whereas, from... If you take from Jordan to Kobe to probably the start of LeBron, there's some overlap. Only a little bit of overlap compared to where these two are actually playing directly against each other throughout that period. So it's
interesting point. Yeah,
you'd probably. I think we talked about this a little bit before. You could definitely say that LeBron's more of the complete player. But if you're going to pick a shooter, and probably the greatest shooter of all time, it's Steph Curry.
Well, I don't think anyone's going to argue that he's not. And again, testament to the teammates that he had around him in this championship win. It was his worst year shooting the 3-ball ever.
Yep.
And they go out and win a title. And they were asking the players, what does this mean to you? The guys that had won 4 in Steph and Clay and Draymond and Iggy, did this one mean the most? And I think they were all saying, they
worked the hardest for it.
That's right. They did it for Clay, coming back from a knee and an Achilles, 2 horrible injuries. Him, he was discussing how there was tears, and he didn't know if his career was done, or he was thinking, am I going to be able to play the game that he loves again, let alone win another ring? So I think that kind of rubbed off a little bit on some of the other players. And then going 2 years ago, going from being dead last in the West to sort of rebuilding it last year, and we saw Jordan Poole finding his straps and them getting Wiggins over, and him becoming
I don't want to say it, but potentially having those guys sit out for long periods has allowed the younger guys to kind of develop as needed. So when they've come back, they've now come as a more complete squad. And can play their role. So
put shout out to Jordan Poole, man. There's a reason why we've been talking about the splash triplets, and he was very good. He only plays 25 minutes or so, and he was nailing his three pointers. Interesting celebrations afterwards. They're talking about getting the bag. They're talking about a bag of money.
Yes,
is the American term.
Yes,
of course.
Can tend to mean something different down under. So it's always fun to see those guys winning it for the first time as well. With their ski goggles on and the champagne flowing. It would have been a rough flight back to San Fran, I think, because they flew the next morning. I don't know if the celebrations had a 2 hour break, or if
they would have been stay on that train, baby. Get on that plane.
They would have been on that team plane.
Rolled straight in, zero sleep. Yeah, I'm going to go with that one. I think, Bucks.
They would have gone all night and would have kept going on the plane, just full goes, and it was on the plane.
Like that, and looked as cool as you just doing it.
What noise did they make?
Full party bus. Party plane in this instance.
I'd reckon so. So amazing, like I said at the top of the show, what the Warriors have been able to do. 4 out of 8 wins in the last 8 years, 6 times at the finals, and the only 2 times that they didn't make the playoffs, they were without half of the Splash Brothers in Klay Thompson. Let's clip this. Let's clip this one because we don't normally clip basketball, but let's clip it. And if you're watching this, get at us in the comments as to what you think about Steph Curry and the GOAT conversation. I think he's definite top 10 now, and I think you can argue that he's top 5. He literally changed the game. He changed the way that the game was played.
He's got he's got the seat at the table. And then they can have that round table discussion about who's number one.
Indeed. So get at us in the comments there and let us know what you thought of the season or the finals series. If you were happy to see the Warriors get another ring for Clay, or if you're getting a little bit sick of the Warrior domination, let us know.
Well, talking about that Warriors domination, so I just had a look at the number of championships, and off the back of Bill Russell's 11 titles, the top 8 or 9 players
from that Celtics team.
That Celtics team,
yeah. Who else? So let's read out some of these names because they're guys that people aren't really familiar with. I'm not familiar with them. Sam Jones, Tom Heinsohn, KC Jones, Satch Sanders, John Havlicek. I know.
Yep.
Well, I think we'll leave it there. They're all, but that's all dudes from that Celtics team that won 8 or more rings.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick.
That's it.
I think the competition was a little bit smaller as well, team-wise.
Shout out to you, Rick, in there. That is quite funny. There was 10 teams in the league and half of them were plumbers.
That's it.
Same as
semi-pro.
Semi-pro. And it's the same as, footy down here in the 70s and 80s when blokes had to go play
two jobs.
Play in front of 80,000 people at the MCG on a Saturday and then go fucking clean out someone's shit out of the fucking drain on a Monday
Ricky's
morning.
labour next day.
Yeah, exactly right. Again, the old timers, they probably
different times.
Yeah, and they like to let us know about it, don't they? Worked 8 days a week, 25 hours a day. Walked uphill both ways to school in the snow. That doesn't snow here.
Lived in a shoebox.
Yeah, lived in a shoebox. You had a shoebox. Other news outside of the finals and Steph Curry chat. The Rockets, they've brought Christian Wood in.
There's a few trades happening, but this was probably the biggest one because we talked about Luka, he needs support.
Yeah, sorry. Dallas have brought in Christian Wood from the Rockets, probably the Rockets' best player, their center this year. Boban goes to the Rockets with a few others.
Yeah, that was the most interesting one because he had the bromance with Luka, of course.
Yeah, indeed.
He wasn't playing.
Brought in to sort of support Luka, wasn't
he? Yeah. It wasn't playing big minutes for them at all, but it was there. As a friend, as someone that you can talk to, you can be with, and they had a big romance. You could see it.
So Luka's Slovenian and Boban is Bosnian. They're different languages, but I think they get by.
Yeah.
So I think they might have had a bit of that. I don't know. The politics in the Balkans in there as well. I don't know who's friends with who and who hates who, but obviously it
changes week to week at this rate.
Week to week, you reckon? It might have changed a bit in the last 30 years. So interesting. Boban going down to the Rockets. He's been doing a bit of acting. I haven't seen those John Wicks, but he's in them. I'm sure you boys are all over the John Wick.
Of course.
I watched what's the movie?
That movie.
I watched a movie on Netflix that had Boban in it. I didn't realize until
the Adam Sandler one.
Yeah, the Adam Sandler one. Hustle. Yeah.
No
that is a basketball movie.
So. No spoilers. I haven't seen it yet. Apparently very good.
It's a funny movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in it. He was funny in it.
There you go.
Yeah. The one moment he was in it. But
I'm glad you got there because that was going south real quick.
Good thing you guys knew what I was talking about.
But this trade though, if we talk about adding Wood, you think that's a step in the right direction for supporting there for Luka?
Definitely. He's young. He's already a top 10 center probably in the league. He's only going to get better, and he'll be good cleaning the glass for him as well. Luka often leads the team in rebounds.
Yeah. Dude does everything.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully defensively that will strengthen the Mavs roster, and he can also go forward and score points in the paint for him. I don't think adding Christian Wood makes them a championship contender just yet. Although
he's a piece.
Yeah, he's a piece.
They need to
in a good way. In a good way. Not like I'm a piece.
You're a piece of shit. He's one piece to put together for that puzzle. So they probably need one or two other pieces. And then maybe they can make a run go because we just saw with Golden State, you've got a guy, but you need two or three guys around them to support them. So when they have the off day, that you're still competitive.
That's right. Steph can go out and shoot 0 from 9 and you still win by 10 points.
Yep, exactly.
The other big thing in the NBA is the draft. Thursday night, the 23rd. I don't think we'll be podcasting next week, so we might cover it the week after.
The results.
Yeah.
Just go back onto Mavs as well. Apparently, Goran Dragic over at the Nets isn't too happy. He's been seen with, I think he went across to Slovenia with Luka last week. So apparently that might be a bit of trade talk as well.
Well, we're full in off season now, so yeah.
He's Slovenian as well, isn't he?
Yeah. So I think that's the connection there, and I think he's been in the league for a few years, so I don't know how much help he would provide, but.
Well, going back to our Balkans history, I think maybe Slovenians get along with Slovenians.
Maybe.
It's like Willie on The Simpsons.
Depends on what suburb you're from, bro.
Well, maybe. What damn Scots ruined Scotland. They'll get along. One's a Rangers fan, one's a Celtics fan, and fucking Willie hates you. Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
I'd love to slip a little Simpsons reference in.